John, cheers, buddy.
Cheers. It's good to see you again.
Dude, it's so good to see you, man. It's been, first off, you've been a big supporter of this podcast, not just being a sponsor for many years, but dude, ever since we kicked it off. Right when we initially kicked it off, it was like 3 months later, I'm sitting in, a Mason,
yeah, dude,
lodge.
Episode number 25, right? I had to Google Fast Life John Jessup, and I was like, oh, dude, this has been a few years now.
It was so much. We were just, before we turned the mics on, we were talking about how things are obviously in this big transition change period right now amongst pretty much, I think, just humanity itself, right?
Absolutely.
But just thinking back to essentially 7 years ago, 2018, we're there in town, we're doing the podcast. I'm about to go meet TPJ for the first time. We're going to one of the 209 bike nights.
Yep.
We have dudes from fucking San Jose, everybody coming up to party. It's like, that felt like it was just a couple, years ago.
Yeah. Look in the mirror, dude. All the gray,
All the gray.
shit. Like, it's like when you see that actor on TV, you're like, God damn, that guy got old. And you're like, oh, wait. But no, it's wild because that was 7 years ago, or 6-7 years ago now.
Yeah. I think 7 or...
I think it was 2017.
It was
18.
18,
all right.
Because we kicked the podcast off in January of 18.
Okay.
17 was the FXR year when I was running around on that everywhere.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it's a lot of nostalgic, we just did our camp out last one, which it's bittersweet, but at the same time, and I've said this before on the podcast, but just for everybody to understand again, there was a lot of things that helped create the camp out in the beginning. And a lot of it was also like you did a camp out in up there in NorCal, in 2018.
Yeah. And
you were talking, I think we were talking about it on one of the first podcasts or something like that. And then I was like, man, well, we should do that too here. And then, I think you went too hard with it first. Like,
dude,
you put too much energy into it.
I put way too much energy into it. And then I was like, fuck this. I should have just picked a place and been like, okay, here's where everybody's going to be at.
Yeah. Because you had food trucks, you had everything set up.
I tried to make it real nice, and it was real nice for about 30 of us.
Well, that's what our first camp out was like, 30, 40 of us. So it was like, but we provided nothing other than like a destination. And then as it got, I remember when people started bitching about us not having food trucks like year 4, I was like, all right, whatever, dude. I guess we'll get food trucks now because you nerds don't know where the gas station is or whatever, But yeah, it's crazy. And now that like I kind of knew I wanted to end it this year for a lot of reasons, and I'll get in that in another podcast, but it's just it still feels weird. It's like another huge change because now that's in the wind, if you will. You know what I mean?
Well, not everything goes forever, huh?
Yeah, and that's hard to accept.
It is
sometimes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
it's people go in cycles. It's weird. We'll see. I've been doing this Dream Ride since 04, and you'll get cycles of people come through your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you'll have this core group of customers / friends, whatever, and man, they're there for like 3-4 years, and then life happens. They get a kid, maybe they get married, whatever, and life pulls them another direction. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's just how it is, and same thing with these events. It doesn't last forever.
Yeah, that's something I think that doesn't get talked about a lot is the fact that, because I feel like when especially when men are breaking up, essentially, not necessarily like you're always friends, but it's not the way it was.
No.
And sometimes for men that becomes hard to kind of like accept. It's more like, all right, well, I got to end on bad terms. I can't just have this cordial. we got to go out in fiery flames and stuff. But no, that is kind of one of those things. You have to just, enjoy the good times while you're in them because some things could last for a lot longer than others or ever. It just depends. But, more often than not, life does pull you in a different direction. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So, well, you brought up 209 bike nights.
Yeah.
Right? Man, that was popping for a number of years.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And it was such a cool group of people and bikes and, people were coming from all over for it.
Yeah.
And, it kind of fizzled, but that's how that goes. And now we have this drag racing event I'm doing in Knoxville. And, man, it is popping.
I think drag racing's due for another round of hype. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. The stuff Mike Beelan's doing and all those guys. And what we're doing, I just did it a couple years ago. We went to the Baker Drags in Sturgis. And I forgot how much fun it was just to take your bike and beat the shit out of it in an 8th mile track.
Hold up. Didn't something crazy happen on a bike you sold
Yes.
last year in Sturgis at the drag?
Let's just get this over with.
Okay.
All right. So, I built a 131 with a big Stage 2 trash turbo on it and, full carbon bike and, all the stuff. And a good buddy of mine bought it. 67-year-old guy who had never been on the drag strip.
Oof.
Right? And he asked, hey, what do I do when I get out there? I was like, man, just pretend it's a red light. It's you and your buddies, and you're just gonna give it a little, give it a little pepper. You know what I mean? And I said, take it easy the first few times. Nobody's out here setting records.
Yeah.
There's no money to win.
Yeah.
We're just having a good time. And he said he got up there. He saw there was 1,000 people watching him. His nerves got him. He said, I don't know what RPM I launched at, but it was high, and I just pogoed the clutch. He just
let it out.
Just let it out, let it bounce. Yeah,
that thing went to the moon, dude.
Yeah, He let her eat. But you know what? I got to tell you something. A lot of guys, when that would happen to them, right, would say, "Oh, the bike." They'd make up some bullshit ass excuse. Well, Steve, man, he was a man about it. He's like, you know what? I done fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't trying to blame nobody else, and he can't wait to get back out on the drag strip. So, he just got the bike back.
Oh, hell yeah.
So,
yeah, that was crazy. I think that it went viral for our industry for a while. So, you know what I mean? I was like,
you know how many text messages and phone calls? John, are you okay? I'm like, nah, should have done a PSA. This is not me. But the drag racing is so awesome because for my whole customer base, that's what we're gearing this to. Is just normal people. You got a Street Glide or a Sportster or a Pan America or whatever the hell, or a Vespa.
Yeah.
You want to get out and just have a good time and in a fun, quote unquote safe environment. You know what I mean? Man, that's the place to do it.
Yeah, there's isn't like Traveling Tall, isn't he based out of your area too?
He is.
Because he did a little run out there once.
Yeah. I'm calling him out right now. He better be at the drag strip May 26th.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I think it's cool to find, when it comes to making events, which about this, you have to read like the vibe of places. And it's like you said, things will last forever. But when you see people want something that hasn't been around for a while, you're not recreating the wheel. You're not recreating anything that hasn't already existed. You're just adding a little bit of spice and flavor of nowadays times and giving people a place to do that. And it brings the hype back because people forget, oh, man, this was fun.
Exactly. And I had forgotten it was fun.
Yeah.
Because, probably 07, 08. My brother and I were going up to Sacramento Raceway all the time.
Yeah, wasn't that where like the FXRs of California used to be out of?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day. And, I kind of forgot about how much fun it was. So, learning from the camp out, I didn't want to put too much planning into this. The local track had, on Friday nights, they had a test and tune night. I just emailed the owner, hey, can I market this as my event, even though...
Yeah.
It's your deal and there's cars there and everything else. He's like, dude, if you're bringing people, do whatever you want. So it didn't cost me $1. All I had to advertise it and like invite people to do something that I already wanted to do.
Yeah. And that's also like building a camp out or doing events. Like if you truly, as the person trying to bring people together, that's what you want to do, it's easy to be genuine about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Easy to do it because you want to bring people together to enjoy that flavor. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it's, I'll say this 100%. Your camp out probably didn't make you money.
Oh, no, that's kind of partly why I had to,
No, I get it. And a lot of these events that we do are probably not smart business-wise, but So, but part of what we do is we love to do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we make more money. I
Just
don't
staying it here at work.
or doing other things, but.
Well, I was thinking about that a lot, like that concept of like, we never started the camp out to make money. It was never the point. But also I was 36, 35 when we started that.
Yep.
And I feel like the younger I am, the more time I'm willing to give away for the sake of something I want. And the older that I get, the less and more conservative I am with giving away my time, unless it's something that's going to benefit me. You know what I mean? And it's not that I don't want it to sound like I'm only going to do things in my life for money, because there's still plenty of things I'll do for the sake of doing it that's going to cost me money, if you will. But you have to be more mindful of how much you're going to spread yourself thin, because time is the only thing that you don't get back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's definitely hitting me. I turned 45 this year, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I'm closer to 60 than I am 20.
Yeah.
Like a lot closer to 60 than I am 20. And that, I was like, shit. And, in this business, we work so hard as young men for some recognition, right? Mm-hmm. We crave it. Please, somebody notice me.
Yep.
Burning the tires off these trucks, going to bike shows and, setting up pop-ups and all this shit.
Just seizing any opportunity that's
any
available.
opportunity you can. And I think that's what you're supposed to do. And being a little bit older in the business and having achieved some recognition, you're right. I'm having to choose where I'm like, fuck, dude, I really want to do this event. Mm-hmm. But I've got like an event the weekend before, an event the weekend after.
Yeah.
I do have a son at home that I should probably see sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's strange having to, trying to be like, okay, let's pump the brakes just a little bit. Let's go on the marathon. This ain't a sprint.
What I hate about having a podcast is that there's countless hours of me saying, fuck that, send it, go out there. You ain't about this life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the complete hypocrite of the whole situation now, but
well, no,
it's
bullshit.
part of growing up.
I think there's a thing called paying your dues, right? I think there's a thing of like just keep showing up till you can't be ignored.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like nobody's giving you shit. Mm-hmm. You got to earn everything. Where I'm sure it's any other business has got to be the same way.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? So like you earned it. You're doing it, and just because you choose to prioritize something else, why is that got to be a negative thing?
Yeah.
I eat, breathe, and sleep motorcycles, and I'm happy to do it. I feel blessed that I get to eat, breathe, and sleep motorcycles. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, I want to go sit in the river with the kids. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be every fucking weekend. It just can't be.
Yeah. I think that's the... when you have, like, when we kind of all created this scene that we have here in Dallas, we had 10 hungry dudes that were all ready to just invest every amount of time they had, free time they had, into the bike night, into the camp out, into our trips. And we've all grown, looking at, roughly 7 years now of doing this stuff. And it's not that none of us don't want to do that anymore. It's just that, like, we're now, so much can change in a year, like, let alone 8 years. You know what I mean?
Man,
like you just said,
life happens, man. People, and it ain't bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It seems bad at first until you understand.
It kind of feels like it, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? Because what happens is, and it's nothing against those people, but other people come in your life, not to replace them. You know what I mean? Because you can't replace somebody, but it's just life continues to evolve. Yeah. And
well, it's like those people that come into your life at certain times and they resonate at that time. There's certain people that I'm closer with now that probably we would not have clicked or worked well 10 years ago. Yeah. And now it's like we're on the same wavelength and it works. You know what I'm saying? So I've learned a lot in this 7 years of doing this podcast, and a lot through having guests like yourself and many other people on here with, wiser ideas and points of view of things like that, and trying to listen as much as I can to absorb, but also apply whatever they say to how I live my life. But but also still being a little stubborn too with certain things, you know.
If you weren't stubborn, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly. So, but man, I'm once again, man, I'm so stoked you came on. I was actually planning on trying to see you on my big trip I'm trying to do this summer, but it worked out well because you coming in now, I don't know how my East Coast side of things look now.
Right
I had this big plan to do this 10-week trip, turned into 8 weeks now. Was supposed to be coast to coast, still is, but it's starting to feel harder and harder to make it a coast to coast.
Yeah.
But I wanted to come through and whatnot. But like I said, I'm glad you're here now, so we can talk and shit like that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I did want to ask you, man. Like since the last time you've done a lot of new shit. I mean, last time you came on, you were initially in the process of setting up Tennessee, and then did you start the process for becoming a hamster before that?
Yeah, I did. So
I want to say I thought you did.
Yeah. So in August of 20, Corey Ness sponsored me to become a hamster.
Yeah.
Right. So I started on the West Coast, which was kind of cool because I got to meet a lot of the West Coast guys, and then moved to the East Coast, meet a lot of the East Coast guys.
Did you have to re-prospect on the East Coast?
I
know it's not a prospect.
Yeah, they just had to jump me in again.
Yeah,
you know?
re-jump in.
Blood in, blood out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know a lot, but you know, you're in the motorcycle industry for a long time. You hear everything, right? You hear every version of everything, if that makes sense. And but I feel like I heard, and I could be wrong, so correct me, is like whatever state you're in, you have to be sponsored by somebody in that state, right?
Yeah. So the idea behind that is the older guys who make the rules and are in charge, you know, and rightfully so, because us young guys will fuck it up, right? They've decided, well, you know what, man, if a guy wants to be in this, right, he should have a sponsor close to him who's gonna, you know, kind of show him the ropes and, you know, make sure, you know, like any organization, if you join it, you should do stuff, right? You should go to the events. You should. Otherwise, why would you even join? So, but if you're a new guy and nobody's there telling you, or your sponsor's 4 states away,
you're gonna just kind of be willy-nilly.
You're gonna get lost in the mix, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the idea behind that. So they trying to have someone in your geographical area to you know, help you out.
So, I kind of understand
you
it,
can
but
ask
just
anything you want.
Yeah, but for the people that out there that, you know, to understand, like, what for you, what's the draw to the organization, to the collective people, you know, of hamsters and stuff like that?
Man, it's different layers. Probably the biggest draw for me was the people I looked up to in the motorcycle industry were hamsters.
Yeah.
Right? So, for instance, Arlen was a hamster.
Yeah.
Corey, Dave Perowitz, Donnie Smith, Rick Fairless over at Strokers, Paul Yaffe. I mean, we can go on and on about people who have made their whole living, their whole career has been motorcycles.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, this is, you know, 4 years ago, so I just turned in 40. You know, it was, that's my goal.
Yeah.
I never want to do anything else the rest of my life. You know, so I figured, well, you know, if I can learn even by osmosis, you know, if I can be around, if I can be in the same room as people who've been doing this forever, I'm going to learn some stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's the concept of putting yourself in a place to always learn and not necessarily be a place where you're always trying to preach and teach, you know?
No. I want to be the dumbest person in the room. Yeah. You know, and you know, that was the allure for me. And then, you know, I've always been love FXRs. Yeah. FXRs have a special place in my heart, you know, at a point in the motorcycle industry, like in 07, 08. Yeah. When I had to sell my bike to keep my bike shop open, I had an old man sell me an FXR for $100 a week. And then I found a bunch of bike shop owners who had FXRs, and it was like this community of people. Yeah. And kind of lit a fire and gave me that passion back that I'd kind of lost. And you look at those old baseball cards or whatever, like a lot of the FXRs were a lot of the Hamsters were the OG FXR guys doing it in the 80s and 90s.
I know that it's not coined this way, but I feel like I think they call it more of a pro street style, but I think that is your classic hamster style
100%
FXR. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. They'd rake them out a little bit in the front end, lower them, and
like pro street style, like just muscle.
Absolutely. And up in Minnesota, they're still doing them like that, and Dave does them like that up in Boston, and Dave will say, man, I like that bike, but it's way too tall,
Yeah, you got to take them down to the Smokies now.
Yeah. No, we still jack them to the sky. That.
But yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're also a man of, a traveler, as they say as well. And so those kind of things
it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's different, but it was the same motivation for me. I became a Freemason when I was a young man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, young. I think I was 28 or something. But it was because I had no mentors. Mom and dad were on dope. I was raised by grandma, and came from nothing. I had this business, that was it was rough times.
Yeah.
And I found this group of older guys who had lived their life right, and they were. Just seemed like somebody I could look up to. You know what I mean? And
that's so important.
You know what I mean? You have to, for me, you have to have those positive role models. At the time, I think it was 05, 06, there was a big deal. We were having tons of guys stealing their own bikes, out there and buying Paco frames and calling the insurance company.
Mm-hmm. Insurance jobs.
All them insurance jobs back then, when the prices were ridiculous. And, man, that temptation was real heavy to get in.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, knowing that I disappoint those old guys.
Yeah.
Kept
you on the straight and
kept
narrow.
me from, fucking my life up.
Yeah.
And, same thing with the hamsters. It's just, I think I'm older. I'm not, that kind of stuff doesn't allure to me anymore. But,
there's also something to that whenever you care about the people you look up to, think about you care what they think about you.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's what we all strive for.
Yeah.
I mean, to be accepted by your peers, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be accepted by those people that I'm not going to say idolize, because that's probably too strong of a word, but to be accepted by those people that you look up to, admire, in your space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You admire these people, and next thing you know, shoot, I got their cell phones, I have a question about, stupid stuff like, you're doing a high dollar build.
Yeah.
And I'm going, man, how do I not fuck this up?
Yeah.
Because you might build the best bike in the world if you don't talk to the guy right, you don't deliver the bike correctly, you don't bill him correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You can sour that relationship really easy.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have guys who've been doing that for 30 years and have made those mistakes and are willing to tell you, hey, don't fuck this up. And here, here's some advice.
Man, on that note, it is absolutely surreal, even to this day when it happens. When it's one thing to to have Corey Ness's number, right? He has mine, I have his, right? I'm gonna call him if I need it. Rarely would he ever have to call me. But anytime someone like that calls and you see it on your phone, it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It never gets old. Lichter's the same way for me. When Lichter calls me and it's just, it always I can't, even if I'm in a bad mood, that cheers me up. I'm like, it's like a gratitude thing. It's
validation.
Validation is definitely involved in that, but it's more it makes me realize, holy shit, I have so much to be grateful for.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. For me, I was invited to a Christmas party, right? I knew Corey in there, and Corey and I were on a first name basis, but by no means was I invited over for Christmas dinner. You know what I mean? But there's this West Coast hamster dinner in Danville, California, and I show up and I'm in this room and I feel like a little kid having dinner with an NFL team. You know what I mean? Because Corey Ness was there, Yaffe was there, Trask was there, on and on. all these guys that I really look up to in the industry.
Yeah.
And here I am sitting at the same table. I was like, what the hell is going on right
That's
now?
badass, yeah.
You know, kind of fanboying a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's there's something to all that, and I think that it gets lost in the mix and whatnot. I wonder, like, I asked that question earlier, you know, just like the draw. I mean, how does, you know, without having the magazine presence that really was a part of a lot of the earlier years of Hamsters and being able to see these bikes that they would build, and now you're kind of relying mainly on the in-person stuff like Sturgis, Daytona, you know, Arizona Bike Week, these different events. Like, how does the Hamsters like continue to kind of like be visible rather than just, you know, because it's not like a repost page and you know, like the way we have our things are.
I think
you're gonna notice them if you're a part of this world, so it's like you don't really need to be publicized that way.
I think that's kind of a lot of people in that space. You know, the longer you've been doing this, the more your bigger client base, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you don't have to hustle as hard as you did 10 years ago.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, you have people out there who want your stuff, and it's kind of like that with all these people. So a lot of them get to, instead of build bikes for notoriety or build bikes for the bike shows or whatever, they're building bikes because they love them.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and then the best bike show on the world is at the Holiday Inn in Spearfish.
Well,
during the week of Sturgis.
The Secret Friends stuff has been like, those bikes have been super rad. I just wish there was, in that note, I wish there was more publicity on those motorcycles, because it's like that last one that Hoffman built, that Chopper FXR. Like, I barely see much of that. Yeah. And I want to nerd out around that bike. And obviously I probably should go to one of the events it's at, but that's why I kind of miss, you know, some of the publication stuff and some of the other forms of media that would kind of like bring that to the.
It's I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's I noticed that, you know, I'll build a bike, you know, I'm posting it all over social media for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm on to the next thing. You know, like, you know, and
well, you got probably, out of my top 5 favorite FXRs, you probably own and built at least 2 of the top ones. You know, my favorite one right now that I was telling you earlier, I'm really trying to find the Cherry FXR. Yeah. Man, that Liberty bike was, dude, that was mine. That was my favorite one.
Yeah.
And then the second favorite was the red one. That really, I think the red one was really your jump off point, like nationwide.
No, that was, you know? That bike made me. I still have it.
That's badass. Yeah.
That bike's not going anywhere. But yeah, no, that bike was, you know, I'll remember that day.
Yeah.
You know, the hot bike best of show at FXRs of California, surrounded by, you know, at the time a $10,000 paint job was, you know, unheard of. And man, there was just tons of them there. Here I am with this stock looking paint job and just a well done bike. And
it might have been the bike that really kicked off the push into that style of, you know, factory custom, because that's been the jam in FXRs for countless years. I mean, that bike was on the back of literally panel paint jobs being, you know, king, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like after that bike came out, whether that was Patient Zero or not, it still kind of helped influence a lot of motorcycles to start sticking with that factory OG style paint jobs. Maybe change the colors some, but you know, that factory lines, you know, like I still love it, because you kind of followed some of the traditional lowrider paint job lines on that one. So
no, that's probably one of my favorites of all time there.
Yeah. And I mean, you've built a handful since then, though.
We built, and the blue one I just finished. You actually inspired me with your chopper.
Oh, okay.
I've got a project I'm working on. Daniel Heeman.
Oh yeah, Daniel told me about that one.
So Daniel built me a chassis, and you know, I'm going to take.
You did that whole chromoly chassis that he's doing.
Chromoly FXR, 7 up, 1 out, one of his custom tanks, and then so now I've got to finish it. And, you know, I mean, my whole career I've been like, okay, TPJ does this, you know, kind of the general contractor, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, I do all the assembly and all that, but I know who to go for this. You know, I build the motors, I build the trannies,
Yeah.
but I have a painter and
Well, that's kind of when we were doing the FXR tour last year. That's my main thing. I was trying to educate the population on is how bikes are built. Yes, there are a few people in this world that touch it from start to finish and do everything themselves, and those dudes are awesome. But a lot of building a bike is about building a team. You have to have the right players on your team to produce the right quality of work. Ness has a team. Everybody has a team, and you build that team by being good to each other. Like your painter is going to be good to you because you're good to him.
Yep.
If you need the fabricator part of your team, or if you need that upholsterer, put an extra on that one. There's so many different hands that come together to make one really nice, simple bike.
No, absolutely. And the way I've tried to explain it to people is like you're the conductor or the general contractor.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You're
It's
the
your
producer.
vision. It's your vision. You have to know the right instruments to play to get this all to come together as the piece you want to finish.
It's an important part too. I was actually just having this conversation yesterday at lunch. Sometimes, and this can apply to me as a painter as well. Sometimes, but I use it as talking about a fabricator. I know a lot of fabricators that are fucking phenomenally talented, but left to their own mind and their own thing without any kind of direction, they could build stuff that don't all work together.
Yep.
Right? And so sometimes having that conductor, having that director, if you will, to kind of nudge and push people into this direction with a vision, it helps them hone in their skill to that thing. Same thing with me with paint. Like some painters need more direction than others. Some people just need to know which way. Like, all right, red bike, blue bike, which way are we going?
Exactly.
Old school, this, where, just give me a couple keywords and then I'll know where we need to land. Or there's also the time where it's like you're painting for Rick Fairless and he's like, hey, let me know when you're ready to start. And then he shows up with a notebook full of ideas and he wants to know every square inch. And there's that form of direction. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the time, that man's, Rick is the prime example of a director, of a conductor. He has a vision for his motorcycles and he's a part of every decision that gets made on it, so.
It's, that notion that, you got to do everything. And it's just...
There's nothing wrong with wanting to try to...
No, and this one, so, I'm going to take my time. I'd like to have it done by Daytona. But, I'm going to fabricate some stuff on it myself. I'm going to, I bought a welder. I'm going to, sit there and hone up. And it's this... I do two different kind of bike builds, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, there's the bike builds that, these M8 baggers or Softails or whatever, where I'm trying to take a bike with quote unquote catalog parts and build the coolest bike I can build with parts that I can actually sell you. Because that's my job.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where the money comes from.
Because we have bills to pay. And then there's I build an FXR or this chopper or whatever, and that ain't about money. That's just about passion and doing something
pushing
cool.
yourself,
pushing myself to learn. I'm never gonna make money welding.
Yeah,
I don't want to make money welding. I'm good. There's other people who do that.
Yeah,
would I like to do it just because I want to learn and get better at it? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. That's the point of seeing and being inspired by a guy like TPJ doing what he's doing to want to be able to, scratch the surface a little bit and be able to kind of, at least tack the pipes up together and then have him come in and finish weld it, you know? Because if you tack the pipes up, you can get the flow that you want on the pipe and get it all dialed in. All right, it's dialed. Now it's good. Then I'll bring a bad motherfucker in now to finish out and put some dimes on here. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
So,
make it actually look presentable.
I keep telling TBJ, let me come show him how to weld. So,
one of these days, right? But so another thing, we're all in the motorcycle business, and I don't think you have all these guys who pride themselves on, hey, you know what, I'm the best fabricator, I can weld, or I can, I'm the best painter, this and that. I think we need to pay more attention to, okay, do you know how to make money doing it?
Yeah.
Right? Because you can be the baddest motherfucker in the world. If you don't know how to tell people, you don't know how to market yourself, you don't know how to bill properly, you don't know
You don't
how
know
to source your product properly. Fuck, you might be the best in the world. If nobody knows, who cares? You know, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's just the reality of the situation, because for us to keep doing this, it's my opinion that we need a whole big community of people doing it at a high level and able to continue to do it.
So having the opportunity to work alongside the Covingtons over the last like 5 years and their business, success. Like I'm amazed at some of the things that they build and what they get to build it. Like they get the money to build a bike that we dream of, and maybe not you. I don't know.
No,
but
I know. We're on the same page.
And the thing is, and what I've known because I've become friends with some of the customers that are there, and it's the security. Like you got to understand, and I use this analogy a lot talking to people. It's like if you have $100,000 to come spend on a bike, and you walk into someone's shop and it's a shit show, regardless of how good they are,
doesn't matter.
That makes you scared to leave that money there, because that means you don't know if that person are they just lazy? If they're lazy, then maybe they're only good at this sometimes. Maybe I'm going to get one of those shit show jobs. Maybe I'm going to solve some of these problems with this money, and I'm not going to get my bike. There's so many things that happen, and people just like builders, the people that are on the receiving end of that money trying to build a name for themselves, they got to understand that sometimes you just got to be like reliable. You have to be the kind of person that somebody with money feels confident that you're going to come through for them and not screw them over.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you screw that. If you screw that customer over, it fucks everybody
up.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Trust me, there's a couple phone calls I need to make to a couple brands right now that need to get their shit together.
Yeah, I mean, just because like you fuck up that customer, he might say, "Fuck this! I'm gonna go buy a boat."
Yeah, I tried to support all these brands in this industry. They don't answer the phone. They don't do this. It's like those things matter, man. You know, I got friends that want to support. They don't ask for discounts. They want to support brands, and they get fucked over every time. And I always ask, hey, man, what's your karma like, dude? Because you're like 0 for 8 right now with different brands. Yeah, but at the same time, it's strange.
But we come from a space, right, where maybe you make the baddest fucking risers or whatever your product is, and you're really good at making stuff.
Yeah.
But you're not good at customer service. You're not good at answering the phones. You're not good at shipping parts out on time. You're not good at ordering the fucking aluminum to make the parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so for me, as I've grown, one of the key things for me is to try and identify the things that either I suck at or I just don't want to do, and find a way to hire somebody who's good at that stuff. You know, like in Tennessee, my general manager, Ben, right? Dude, I never thought I'd have a general manager. That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't very long ago, I was the guy at the front counter answering every single phone call.
Yeah.
But when I made the decision, okay, if I'm going to be out running around the country buying motorcycles and doing this thing, you know, somebody's got to be there to answer the phones. Well, I'm not very organized. You look at my desk, it's fucking papers everywhere. So
yeah, you wore a lot of hats for a long time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I opened Dream Rides in 2004.
Yeah.
And in 2018, I was still doing everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
So
I remember walking to me, my daughter came to your spot up there, and you were dealing with a customer, your typical walk-in customer in Stockton, if you will. And I was like, man, I would have told that dude to kick rocks like 15 minutes ago, dude. Like your customer service was good. I was like, dude, there's no way I would have put up with that shit. It was just like simple, you know, bullshit. Man, I bought this, and I would, just crazy shit,
Yeah, but the thing is though, like Ben's super organized, and I needed that in my business to grow, and because I was able to invest in that, it just kind of, there's a snowball effect, right?
Yeah.
But any of these brands that, I'd suggest, and I'm always trying to figure it out. I'm not trying to say I have all the answers by any means, but I can tell you that if you suck at something, look yourself in the mirror and figure out what you suck at. Because if people want your shit and they're ordering your shit and they're not getting the shit, it's we how many brands have we seen come and go like that?
Yeah, yeah.
All the time, where they have really good fucking products and the guys behind it are really good guys, and just something breaks along the way, and they can't figure it out. So figure it out, please.
That's a good point, man. I think that a lot of things also changed when so many brands really had to accept the fact that in this day and age, you had to not just be a brick and mortar, but an online presence. And then for some people, I think the online presence became so easy that, and the thing is when I come to your store and I sit across the counter from you and I buy something for you, that's a more personal experience. Mm-hmm. But when I'm an order number, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no person
behind that, right? So then it's easy to lose track of those numbers and those papers and those deals, right?
Yeah.
But it's important, in my opinion, that like for you to, you know what I love about what Speed Dealer does with those swing arms is he makes a box with your name on it.
Dude, I told Frank, I was like, look, man, the marketing you did on this, everything from the execution of the box to all that, man, like. I said, cool swing arm, right on. But your marketing,
it's the experience of buying it.
Your marketing is fucking next level, like so pimp.
So it's like if you really think about it, if you make a product and somebody in this industry is buying something from you, you know what I mean? They're buying something that they want to have. They want, I don't want to buy tires for my bike.
No.
I want to buy risers. I want to buy that exhaust system. So if you make that experience something like what Frank has done, to me, that helps people that are wanting to spend money. That makes them want to spend more.
Absolutely.
Because it gave them a feeling. It gave them something. And I think that if you're only trying to focus on more marketing, more shit, more online sales, more this, you're losing the point of this. This is a fucking luxury that we do on motorcycles. Nobody here, motorcycles period are not necessity.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Like, we all sell an item. We all sell a product for something that's not a necessity.
So Bubba Boswell, I was talking about him earlier. I've got to know him pretty well going to the auctions, and I asked him. I said one day I was like, "Hey Bubba," because Bubba's I don't know how old he is, but he's been doing this. His dealership has been in business for 50 years.
Yeah.
And I said, you ever realize like we're in business, our whole business is just luxury and people making maybe not smart financial decisions? He says, wait. I've never claimed to be a financial advisor. I can be a lifestyle advisor, but I'm not a financial advisor.
Yeah.
But you're right. So the thing is, we have to fucking cherish every single customer because they all matter.
Yeah.
And as a community of people who want to do this forever, I mean, we're under fire from the EPA. We got so many things. I don't even know what you deal with as a painter. It's all kinds of bullshit, I'm sure.
Stay in the county, baby.
Yeah, stay in the county, right? But all this pressure on us. Yeah. If we don't execute taking care of our customer base, man, it could go away pretty quick. I never, especially since we've known each other, one of the biggest conversations have been about getting young people into motorcycles, right? And I always thought that was a weird thing because I'm like, half these kids on Dynas are young, but I think that now I'm seeing like my son's generation at 14 years old, and he does not care about bikes. Unless a bike is on some movie or TV show that he's watching, he's not gonna I don't know what's gonna click. I'm hoping when this Bike Riders movie comes out, that it kind of will resonate with some younger audiences, even though it's probably not going to. I think it's gonna be a great movie, but I don't think it's gonna really bridge a gap from a younger generation to an older one. I think it's more gonna be oh hell yeah, I remember those bikes. Well, I mean, it's just things change. Who knows? I hope I'm 45, so I need another 20. You know?
Yeah, that's the hope.
No, I say that, but I plan on working at my shop until I'm dead.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to retire. I don't care to retire. But, I mean, kids, you know, riding bicycles and shit. It just, you know, we started doing that bicycle giveaway just to give kids bicycles every Christmas so that, man, because I'm like, man, like if kids aren't out riding bicycles, are they ever going to ride a motorcycle?
All right, so follow me down this path. We were just talking about how drag racing, right? How it goes through its ups and downs of like popularity. Well, what about like things like bicycling? But I think maybe poke a hole in my own argument here. It's different if you rode a bike at one point in your life and then went to something else and then came back to it. So you had an experience to be kind of reminiscent on or miss or, you know, be a little nostalgic. But if you're a kid and you never rode a bike and nobody else is riding bikes,
who gives a shit?
Bro, like I need to do what everybody else is doing. You know,
I mean, the reality situation is my 10-year-old, I mean, a lot of his social interactions are online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's been really hard for me to digest that because it's very foreign to me.
Yeah.
But it's very real for him.
Yeah.
Like he has people that kids that, you know, he actually considers friends playing Roblox.
Yep.
You know, and it's so foreign to me, but it's real, you know, and he has, you know, he gets out and rides his bike and he, you know, does normal kid shit, but there's a whole nother level of these video games. You know, I'm going to sound like the old guy right now. Watch.
Yeah.
These video games offer a sense of accomplishment. You're leveling up. You're doing all this shit. That reward center in your brain just
social
firing.
aspect to it.
Your social aspect and all that. And I mean, if you fail, you just start over.
Yeah.
Riding a bicycle, a skateboard. I mean, you fail, you eat shit.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Or you want to do that and you want to figure out what you did wrong.
Well,
you know?
Exactly. But, you know what I mean? It just...
I've said this story before, but, you know, my son, same thing, but he's on the Fortnite kick. But a couple years ago in 2022 in January when we drove to New York together, one of his friends from Fortnite lives in Staten Island. I'm like, hey, do you want to meet him? No. I'm like, well... He didn't like your best friend. He's like, yeah, it's all good. I'm like, you're in the same town on the other side of the country.
Deal. Like, I'm here. Let's go.
I've been talking to him all day. I don't need to see him. And I'm like, wow, like this. Not that it's wrong. It's just different.
It's just not what we're used to.
Yeah. So but there's also, I mean, you could also spin this like, imagine like we grew up. You know, I'm going on 42 this year. So we grew up in a similar fashion of having friends that we grew up with in our school systems and things like that we were connected to. And then it was like different social circles that we kind of operated in. So when we grow up and go through college, like some people kind of disperse and then maybe that creates opportunities in other parts of the country, depending on your relationship. But he's starting out with all his friends are all over the country.
Yep.
He might, when they get to like early 20s, they might have more opportunity because of that.
Who knows? But you know, back to the bicycle thing, like that was our freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't have an outlet. You didn't have an outlet to go online. So it was either I could sit at home and watch Donahue with my grandmother or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or get out and ride my bicycle or go skateboarding or whatever, you know? So,
well, you know what you can bring back is just driving to our friends' houses and knocking on the door unannounced.
People get pissed over that shit.
Yo, John, you home?
Can you come out and play?
Riding BMX bikes everywhere.
Yeah.
That was the shit.
Just jumping curves, scratching cars.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. It's crazy, but you know, you've, like I said, your name comes up a lot in conversations just as like kind of like inspiration to a lot of younger brands too, because of, and outside looking in, your brand looks very successful because of how much work you've put into it and how you've been able to multifaceted it between like service, over the counter sales, online stores, bike sales, everything that you wrap your brand name around. I mean, it has to play into just the mentorships that you've been kind of coming into. Like you're around and being a hustler, you know?
I mean, I think part of it is just intrinsic. When I was a kid, you know, to make money, I'd spray paint your house number on your curb, you know, whatever it was. That's just how my brains operated. But yeah, no, it's all those relationships. It's that's what this is. It's all, you know, we
networking.
We mess with motorcycles, but we're in the people business. You know what I mean? Without the people, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
So, you know, I've heard that people look up to me a little bit or whatever, and that's amazing. And I've tried to make myself available for anybody who wants, dude. I'll give you my playbook. It might be wrong. It might only work for me, but I don't care. Yeah. I will say emphatically though, if you own a motorcycle shop and you can figure out how to get into bike sales, you need to do so. You know, you know how many hours it takes to to profit $2,000 in your service department. You got to answer the phone. You got to write the quote. You got to order the parts. You got to, you know, fix the bike. You got to call the customer again. You got to test drive it. There's a lot that goes into that. You got to receive the parts. You got to put them in inventory. When you buy a bike, you put it on the rack. You know, we do this whole safety inspection. I make sure that if I sell you a bike and I see you in the grocery store 6 months from now, I'm not a piece of shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a used bike, and you know that going in. Yeah. But when I give it to you, I know that it's a good bike. You know what I mean? But I mean, you know, I try and profit $2,000 a bike. You know, and most of the time it works out that way. So that's a lot less moving parts. Yeah. Okay. And the minute you're able to do that, you know, one success can lead to another success. You know what I mean? So if you have more resources, you know, without bike sales, you know, I wouldn't have a shop in Tennessee and California. You know, I wouldn't have a service, you know, two servers, you know,
a general manager,
you know what I mean? Like, because, you know, if you're doing well in bike sales, right? Like, for instance, we do a lot of Saddleman seats in Tennessee. I have probably 50 different colors, you know, or 50 different seats on the showroom floor, different colors and all that. Well, I couldn't afford to do that, you know, if bike sales wasn't helping to lift the load. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, but because I'm able to buy those seats, we sell a fuck ton of seats. Yeah. But you got to have it to do it. Yeah. You know, so.
It's kind of the concept of, like, you know, with Tony or Ramjet having that store you walk into and impulsing.
I think Tony's store is the fucking baddest aftermarket shop in the country.
100%, yeah.
Way nicer than mine. You know, and Tony's a homie, and I've told him that in person, and, you know, it's just...
It's like when you go through Phoenix, you want to go in.
Yeah, if you're in Phoenix, go to Ramjet Racing. But, no, it's a strange position to be in. I opened my first bike shop, Delta Bike Works, in 2002. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've had Dream Ride since 2004. That's 20 years. I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm not the young kid doing this anymore. You know, and it's weird trying to, you know, make that transition a little bit. And, you know, there's a lot of fear that goes in that too. You know what I mean? Like, I remember what it was like just being fucking having to cut the padlock off the water meter. You know what I mean? Like, I do not want to go back there. Yeah. We all build these big house of cards. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know exactly what your weaknesses are, and I know exactly what my weaknesses are. And you know, sometimes you feel like that wind's going to blow the wrong way. Yeah. We're talking about this is a funky year for the economy and the election and all this shit. And I know you're thinking the exact same thing I'm thinking. Like, fuck, dude, how do we survive this shit?
I think the house of cards analogy is a really good one, because as much as I would like to think that I built at least a straw house, you know, for the most part, every time things get tough, I still look at everything in my life like it's a house of cards. Like, it could crumble like that. And that's where, like...
And it's not even necessarily based in reality.
It isn't. It's just like, that's what you're used to.
But that's the emotion. That's that shit that I went through in like 07, 08, 09. You know what I mean? That gets imprinted on your soul, I think. And
Yeah.
man, if you're a counselor out there, call me because I need some help. But
I don't think they call them counselors anymore.
whatever. Therapist. Yeah, whatever. I need a guidance counselor. Anyway. But like, it's strange, you know, no matter those emotions, right, of that house of cards mentality, you know, I still haven't figured out how to get rid of that.
You would think that. All right, let me ask you this question. I've thought about this a lot, and not because I feel like I've achieved it, but the idea of success it never feels like you have it. But if you were to look at if you were able to go back to who you were 2 years ago and look at yourself now, you would say you have it. Does that make sense?
Oh no, I 100%. I think about that all.
But when
the
you're
time.
in it, like you don't feel like this is
because it's the ball's always moving.
Yeah.
You know, and you're 100% correct when you say that, because you know, the position I'm in right now, I would have creamed myself. Let's say 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, like in 2018 when we did our first podcast.
Yeah.
What dream rides? It's not just me, you know, because I got a lot of people behind me helping.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what we've been able to accomplish. You know, and that's 6 years.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, if you look at it like that, man, be proud. Life is good.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I ain't done.
Yeah,
I'm not sitting in the rocking chair. We're pushing.
You know, to use a video game as an analogy, it's kind of like as you level up, so does the rest of the world. So you're always kind of on that cusp of like chasing, you know, success or
if you're not, you're done.
Yeah, and like success is it's
stupid.
It's a stupid concept because when you're a kid, like thinking about how I thought about it as a kid, like, oh, once I'm there, life is good. But like life never is. I mean, life is always good if you have the right perspective. But life never. There's no. The mountaintop does not exist. It just it keeps going.
So
you know?
we talked about me being a Mason,
Yeah.
right? And one of the things you learn is it's a.
Are you allowed to say this? Nobody's gonna knock on my door or anything, right?
Yeah, but it's
Secret handshakes.
there's a prayer in the Bible that says, "Man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of problems or full of trouble," right? Mm-hmm. And like we think about that, right? Like so, no matter what, I don't care where we're at in life, we have problems.
Yeah.
Right? So right now our problems might be financial and they seem like fuck, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had Jay Allen from the Broken Spoke.
Okay.
Jason Hallman and I were sitting out in front of a barber shop in Daytona this year. Mm-hmm. And Jay Allen was there. And, you know, we're doing what we do. We're bullshitting about business and challenges and money and all the things that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
And Jay Allen says, hey boys, he calls us boys. Hey boys, you need to understand something. I was like, what's that? He goes, from a 70-year-old's perspective, all this shit you guys are worrying is fucking nothing. It doesn't even fucking matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. You know, so it's strange to think that all these problems that I'm not going to say manufacture for ourselves because I don't think that's the case, but what we choose to focus on, all our problems, you know, and I'm trying to figure this one out because this is exactly how I do it, right? I focus on the negative instead of all the positive. And
yeah.
And how do you flip that? Because when you're 70, your problems probably aren't going to be money. They're going to be physical.
Yeah.
Well, I'd much rather have money problems. I can fix money problems, you know? So like, how do we
well, at the same time, if you were to take, you know, he's 70, so 25 years older than us. Good perspective. So 25 years younger than us is a 25-year-old, right?
Yeah.
So his problems or her problems, bro, like nothing. But as you get older, you put it like this: the problems that you overcome, they all exist still. It's just you don't see them as problems anymore because now you have the tools to solve it.
Yeah.
Right. So as you get older, you solve this, you solve this. Those things still exist all the time. They're always around you. But now that you have the tools, you can handle it. We're always dealing with the next problem in life that is different from the ones we've already fixed. So a 7-year-old man is looking at all these problems that we're faced with,
Like,
and he's looking at all these achievement awards that he's got. Oh, I did this, and this, and it's like, for the most part, I mean, that's a glossed over generalization, but that's how I see things, you know. And I try to explain it to my younger brother, like, look, man, like, it's tough now. It is tough. I'm not going to take away.
no, it's
the
all,
fact
but it's never not going to be tough.
it's not.
That's
like,
the thing
Yeah.
that prayer that you learn as a Mason
Yeah.
is basically like, hey, embrace the fucking suck.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because you got to figure out how to be happy, even though there's going to be a challenge every fucking day.
yeah, that's a good perspective.
Every day. How can we still manage to be happy, even though no matter what, there's just going to be problems. So you're dead.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
And that's also a good reason why, like, being attached to the motorcycle scene, if you just get on that bike and go ride it,
Dude, we are so blessed.
you don't think about those problems for at least while you're on it.
No, but
Or maybe you're thinking about it, but you're kind of like, everything, all the clutter's gone, so you can kind of start, wiring it up a little bit.
all you have to do is go to an Applebee's on a Sunday afternoon and watch all those guys walk in their wife laid out their fucking clothes for them this morning. Their one vice is they get to watch a couple hours of football on Sunday. They go sit in a fucking cubicle.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, no, the motorcycle industry. That's part of the reason I became a hamster, because I never want to do anything else. I feel so fortunate that I get to do something I love, both recreationally and professionally, and I don't have to be one of those soulless fucking drones.
Yeah.
We get to do. I mean,
You're making it. I mean, to an extent, like, depending on what level of a cubicle that person's in,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
No,
we're
no,
making
hold
it.
on.
Yeah,
Hold on. So I can say this because he'll never fucking listen to it. My best friend growing up,
Yeah.
right, from the time we were 3 years old till we were 18. I mean, his mom was my mom, and vice versa. And I spent as much time at his house than I did my own. He went off to be a lawyer. I went off and did what I did. Man, my whole 20s and 30s, I'm thinking about this guy like, you know what? I really fucked up because I was as smart as him. I
Yeah.
could be he was in San Francisco, big attorney. I could be this attorney. I could be living it up, driving fucking fancy cars, all this shit. His mom passed away, so we got to reconnect a little bit. I asked him, hey, what do you do for fun? And he looked at me like he didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. Like,
I watch Suits.
yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people out there like that, that they just fucking go to work and that's it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I didn't fuck up. I get to do something I enjoy. It ain't about fucking money.
I know exactly what you mean, though, like that analogy, that 20 and 30. Because when we were 20, my friends that I grew up with that went and did they took the path.
Yeah.
At 20, I was like, later nerds, I'm having fun right now.
Yeah.
And then I'm still working. I'm working hard, things like that. And then at the end of the day, like, what I feel like I have, it's hard. It is hard because in this world of motorcycling, if it was just myself, if I didn't have a wife, I didn't have kids, I wouldn't think about certain aspects of life so deeply because I don't need those for myself, but I need to provide those as a man.
Dude,
to my, you know
if
what I
it
mean?
wasn't for wives and kids, we'd all live in fucking vans behind our shops.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, let's be real.
On the motorcycle.
Yeah, like, are you kidding me?
We got to clip that and put that out there.
Like,
They domesticate us.
no, 100%. And thank God they do. I love my house, and I love that I get to go home to it, and it's beautiful. And my wife decorates it.
It's funny because, like, if you ever go to the Cut Rate, his place, it's exactly what I would do if I was single.
Yeah. Right?
Downtown Long Beach, fucking baller ass, like, you could call it a loft. It's really a garage that he lives in.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, this is cool. I could do this now,
You can't
not
do it with
a
a wife and kids.
Exactly.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
They make those jokes all the time online where it's literally if the man designed the house, it would be like the garage with the car with the couch next to it.
Yeah.
And that's where they sleep. Like, and that's the truth.
100%.
I mean, how long have you and your wife been together?
We'll be married 10 years October 1st.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
It's 12 years. And
so I'm 10 years together, 8 years next Wednesday.
Oh,
married.
dude, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's not easy. It's no, I mean,
Yeah.
no, marriage ain't for the faint of heart.
Yeah,
My wife is fucking aces. Like, I would not be here. The first Sturgis trip where I went, like, I got best show. I wouldn't have went if she didn't fucking
Push me to
go. Like, she is directly responsible for a lot of my success. But I mean, marriage is, hard. You got to work at that shit. Because we were talking about earlier, how much did we change in 8 years?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, you're a different fucking person than you were 8 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, you
so
should
is
be.
she, and hopefully you guys can, we're figuring out how to do it together and not grow apart and still spend time together. And thank God my wife's fucking embraced motorcycling. She's doing this.
I noticed with Callan.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Heather and Janine are doing this women's podcast thing, and they're trying to go at it from an angle of like not like, hey, we're women and fuck dudes. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that, it tends to be like we're women and it's exclusive.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, no, like we like our husbands.
Well, they have a perspective.
Yeah,
that I think is going to be a unique take on like this world. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
and they're trying to interview a lot of like Susie Yaffe and people, the women behind either behind the scenes or Christine LaPera, that she's in front of the scenes or you know what I mean. From a female's perspective, a lot of the motorcycle industry or motorcycle riding. So I'm kind of excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's the motorcycle culture and world is diverse as hell. There's so much things. There's so many pockets. There's so many. I've recently gotten heavy into like the vintage and chopper world, and man, there's like even the last 20 years, there's so much cool shit that took place that went under the radar because I was on these other kicks and stuff like that. And like, but I'm glad they existed. I'm not like FOMO and like, oh, I wish I was a part of that. Like I'm glad that I get to go see it in a Dice magazine or I get to watch a 21 Days Under the Sky or whatever the case may be. Or, Chopper Town, watching that flick from early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much cool shit. And I think that's like, painting bikes has been a great way to fund being interested in all these other things and podcasting, photography, all this other shit. So, but it's also like I do have this weird thing in me where I want to leave something, like not legacy, not so much like a legacy, like I want to be revered or anything, because I don't think that's not really what it is. I want my something I did to be worth something when I leave. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, I get it. Well, it's definitely worth while you're here, which is better than most artists because most artists have to die before their shit's worth anything.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, just your podcast, how many people listen to that and enjoy the fuck out of it? And I know it's definitely valuable for the motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
The community, and that's what this is all of it. It's... I think we all want legacy. We all want.
Well, it's hard to be in this world and you be surrounded by so many, forefathers of custom motorcycles and not want to be able to scratch your name on that list somewhere.
Dude, that's the dream.
Yeah.
But I mean, time, patience, and perseverance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it.
Still got to show up, even if you've been doing it for 40 years.
You got to show up. Yeah. You know what? Dave Perowitz told me. I was bitching to him a little bit about being burnt out, because I've been traveling like a fucking circus clown the last 3 or 4 years. And I was like, dude, I don't think I'm gonna do Daytona this year. He's like, I think that's a mistake. It's like, what do you mean it's a mistake? He's like, man, this is how this goes. You don't show up for a year. All right, cool. You quit showing up to events, dude, you're gonna nobody's gonna remember you. And he's like, take it from someone who knows. Like, Dave was one of the biggest names out there. I mean, we were all watching him on TV shows and all that shit. right? A lot of the younger guys don't necessarily even know who Dave Perowitz was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we educate them on that shit, and we let them know. But man, the minute we quit showing up to work, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, this thing that this motorcycle world is like this ever changing thing that you don't get to go put a good year into it and then step out and everybody remembers.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
How many? You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
How many people came into this that you thought like, fuck, dude, this guy is fucking amazing, and he was just a shooting star.
Yeah.
They're here for a few years and they're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, especially early days, like things have been early days for me, like your late 2000s, your early 2010s. Yeah, you saw that a lot because you had these big, enormous scenes that people would jump into, whether it was the chopper era, the big wheel bagger era. I think the performance era has kind of opened up the door for more people to diversify their shit to where they can stay.
Absolutely, but even the Dyna thing. How many exhaust companies?
Yeah, for sure.
Came out and we're like, dude, that is the fucking coolest exhaust I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Just fucking gone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not going to start dropping names because that's not what we're doing here. But I mean, just look at exhaust companies. That's
the thing. Not dropping names, but the thing about the exhaust company thing is once doing podcasts with some of them and knowing how they work and how it all kind of went together, and knowing what they can produce per day if they just did an 8-hour day, it's pretty freaking insane. Most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, they get overwhelmed and they quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they couldn't handle the demand. And they were too scared to raise their prices. They were too scared to kind of just play the market.
Hire people. They were too scared to, because we're not businessmen.
Yeah.
99% of the people in this industry, we don't start out as businessmen.
Yeah.
We start out as people who love fucking motorcycles. You might be a good wrench or a good welder or a good painter or whatever the fuck it is. Whatever role you play in this thing.
That's kind of, so to talk a little shit right now, usually when we get pretty sauced up on these podcasts or when you're in a really like everybody's ready to talk, we're jumping rope, everybody's got to get in and say something, you start hitting those likes like this, and then like when you're listening to it, all you hear is like.
Okay.
Right? And so on YouTube every once in a while the people are like this, like they're talking shit. I'm like, cool. Well, hey, here's the deal, man. We are actually in the motorcycle industry across the board. Like you do something that's unique, that you've built, and I built something as well. All right. I didn't start working on bikes to be a host of a podcast.
No, you adapted.
We talk a lot, so fuck it. Let's put it on microphones and let's try to get better at it, right?
Yep.
Being better at speaking, being better at these kind of things that are human elements are like things that we all want to be better at life. They're habit forming things.
Yep.
Right. And habit forming things. If I did a podcast every day and I had a little sign over there that says, don't say like, don't say, then it's right there in my head. I probably should do that. It would probably help a lot. But it helps you do stuff like this. There are a lot of, like, I see it kind of happening now. The podcast space in motorcycling, it's like an untouched, untapped area where now you're going to start getting these bigger, like media companies coming in, trying to put people in places to do podcasts. They're going to be way better than me at interviewing. Hear me out though. They're going to be better at interviewing because they're better at speaking. It's going to be more easy to listen to for people. But the thing is they're not going to know what to ask that's relevant to the people about this because there's no shared experience, right? There's no shared experience. We've both ridden across the country.
Yeah.
We've both lived in a shop, so to speak. We've both, had to grind in so many different ways that we understand the kind of things that might be beneficial for somebody to hear. I know how to ask you a question about something in a path. I know how to ask you about your hamster experience because I'm interested in that, like your perspective. Someone else is going to go, that doesn't know the world, doesn't know the history, doesn't know any of that. Like they're just going to ask you a really like thought out, somebody probably wrote it for him question, and he has no way to kind of come in and dig deeper, you know?
That's why they'll come and go, though. You know what I mean? So we see this a lot, right? I'll see it at the dealer shows, the drag specialties, MVP, whatever. You have brands out there that eat, breathe, and sleep this shit.
Yeah.
On the manufacturer level and on the dealer level, right?
I met manufacturers that do eat, breathe, and sleep this
Exactly.
stuff.
And then you have some manufacturers that either they've been bought out by a big company or they were just a big company who thought this was a good profit center, and they don't have a soul because they just put some salesman in that fucking spot.
Yeah, dude.
And he doesn't know, right?
Fucking hitting home right now. There's some big things happening with that same thing right now that's affecting us big time.
And what happens is who I choose to buy parts for are people that I have relationships with. You know what I mean? Are brands that there's a lot of exhaust companies. There's a lot of companies out there. And if I'm going to do business with you, I better like you.
Yeah.
You better be one of us. Hate to say it.
Yeah.
But this is a passion-driven industry. And if you're not passionate about it, get the fuck on.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
You become vultures.
It's whatever. It's, I don't even, whatever you want to call it, vultures, whatever. But the staying power isn't going to be there.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is look at, I think it was Mag Group
Mag Corp, yeah.
Right? They bought out iconic brands, Performance Machine, RSD, Kuryakin, on and on. Dude, all those companies are shells of themselves, right? Anytime that big money gets involved, it seems to ruin it.
I'm very...
And maybe they're big, here's the opposite. Look at Fred Fox, who started Drag Specialties. Man, I don't know a lot about that story, but that was a guy who everybody in this industry owes a lot of gratitude to, because, man, he did things right. He was passionate about power sports, not just Harleys. It was all power sports. And if you don't have that passion, that's the hardest part of these tire companies, right? Sometimes we'll show up at the dealer shows and the guy's, wearing his old creased Dockers and the polo shirt and,
he just came from a Gildan Paint.
Whatever it was, you know what I mean? I don't
new
even
marketing
know. It's
place,
It's like, come on, man, at least give us, I realize that none of us are big enough to own a tire company. We're not starting a tire company.
Yeah, no.
But at least give us the fucking, hire a good sales rep that
get a rep that understands the business,
understands
the community.
Eat, breathes, and sleeps this shit. So if you're a big company and you want in, hire somebody that's in.
It's almost like these companies, when it comes to marketing, you need someone that has a degree that understands like metrics and shit, and then you need a 50-50 partner. Like they have a split responsibility. No one has more power. You have a dude that's in it. Yeah. Someone to bounce all your nerd shit off of and be like, yo.
You need a marketing manager who then directs how you implement it so that someone can be the voice to go push it to the market.
So kind of strange. I'll use my personal experience here.
Yeah.
I built Dream Rides. A lot of the online stuff, bike sales, the shop, through social media marketing, right?
Yeah.
I went to classes on it, all that kind of shit. Well, I'm too busy to do that now. I have a guy who does that, but I'm trying not to take the soul out of it. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make sure that, and he's all in motorcycles. But I mean, he also has a pedigree, worked for X Games and all kinds of shit. So he understands that corporate speak. You know what I mean? That I don't get. So we'll have we'll have a Zoom meeting with a big brand about maybe doing some partnerships, this and that. And I just let him run with the ball because he knows how to talk to the corporate people, where I'm like, I like bikes. You know what I mean? But at some point, you know, if you're lucky enough, you get to the point where you need the guy. But if you're not if I just hire somebody off LinkedIn who's got a master's degree in social media marketing, they're gonna fucking sink the ship.
Exactly.
You know, because if you don't ride a bike, if you're not all in it, I hope Harley Davidson's listening right now. You know what I mean? If you're not all in, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Make money somewhere else. You know, this is, in my opinion, the motorcycle industry is for people who are all in.
Yeah, it's a passion-driven industry. People make decisions through and through based on the passion for it. Like if you want to take that entire goddamn income tax return and throw it on parts for your bike, that is a passion purchase. That is not a wise purchase.
No, this is passion. This is passion. And you know, I wish in our industry we had the motor company. I wish we had a Willie G. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we had that guy at the motor company that was just fucking, you know, out there riding bikes and fucking doing it and all that. Now, that might not even be possible today.
I don't think it's possible.
It's a big corporation. You know, they have shareholders. It's shit that I can't even fucking comprehend, I'm sure. But, you know, if their marketing team like rode motorcycles, if their people actually fucking eat, breathe, and sleep of them, and some of them do. I personally know some of them that actually do, but then some don't. You know what I mean? It's like, man,
I would say 2020, and I would say 2020. I felt like I felt a big disconnect from the motor company, right? And I'm not speaking on this because I'm trying to get fucking, you know, in
come
it.
on, that Born Free build.
Born Free build. Come on, baby. No, it's not that. It's after actually having conversations with multiple people in there. There's some that I still am like, you probably won't be here a couple more years. You know, there's others I'm like, oh yeah, you're really into this. I can talk to you like normal. I don't have to like dance around my ideas and my words. I think that like, even though I would agree. I would say that they lean too much into YouTube people. That for a big brand like that, they should be leaning into a lot of different facets of motorcycling, not just media people, not just like another podcast guy or whatever. They need to do more. But at the same time, like, I think that they got to sell every decision to a shareholder. Right? Every decision they make to why are we going to give this dude a bike? Why are we going to give this dude a check? Why are we going to support this show? We have to put it up there and convince the board or whatever, or at least the next boss above them to write that off. And so usually when you have some kind of social media, a couple of check boxes, whether it's a YouTube channel and subscribers or whatever the case may be, all right, I can do that. I think that I think a lot of the people that work at the brand are diehard motorcycle people. I just think that the people that own the brand are not. They're about that money.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I would say I took Danger Dan from this. Danger Dan and a lot of other Danger Dan's the anomaly because it's like they're not trying to sponsor his podcast, but they fucking love Dan. Yeah. Which I'm like I'm so stoked for him, right? Yeah. But so Dan got invited with all the other YouTubers to go to the CEO's house in New Mexico. And I asked Dan, I was like, dude, is this dude legit? And he's like, yo, dude, yeah, this dude really he's from Puma. He loves Americana culture and he's like about this. Is he a biker like you and I? Fuck no. Right? But I mean, do you think we would be bikers the way we are if we grew up in a different way?
No, we wouldn't, but that doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, hey, CEO, money, all that shit. Mm-hmm. We need a fucking leader. You know what I will say that. Yeah. We do need a Willie G or something like that. You need somebody out there flying that fucking flag because I guarantee you.
I keep telling him, like, I'll go to the gym, dude. Look, let me know.
I'm just saying, like, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people who own Harley Davidsons do not know the CEO's name.
I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, Yakin something or whatever.
Yakovich or something like
whatever it is. But I'm just saying, and that's because we're dumb Americans, but whatever. But like, wouldn't it be awesome to have a Willie G figure? Like somebody who's like, hey, I'm out here, I'm fucking living it. And not just a fake guy. Like,
I think Brad Richards is the closest thing we're going to get to that. And he seems like he's interested in this stuff heavily. He obviously is into bikes. I don't know him personally. I'd love to have a podcast. My conversations with the people at Harley, like, look, don't give me shit. Just give me fucking access to I want to have a podcast with you people.
Yeah. Tell your story.
Yeah, I want to like, I've heard him on so many podcasts, and no disrespect to the people he's been on, but he's a fucking creative designer, and you're talking to people who don't know how to create and design. They're not asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I'm not the best interviewer, but I guarantee you I'll ask questions that they never thought of asking.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Because I know the space.
No, exactly. If they made that public to us, right? Make me a fucking fan. You know what I mean? I want it. I got a fucking Harley tattoo, for crying out loud.
Yeah. I
make fucking my living with Harley Davidsons. Most of the Harley dealers hate me, but who cares? But I'm just saying, like, if that's me, right? And I'm like begging you, like, hey, like, make me a fucking fan. Make me fucking like loyal. I'm already fucking loyal, but you know what I mean? Like, make me passionate about it. Fuck yeah, the motor company, they're fucking awesome.
So how do you feel about like the new motorcycles? It's like the
I don't even know about them yet. I mean,
styling wise, did they like they appeal at first or no?
No, they never do it first.
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's what I think. Us Harley guys, we get used to looking at something. And every time they make a change, we're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, we're like, oh, yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't wait to get my hands on a Road Glide.
Yeah.
There's some stuff I want to change on there. That big radiator cap thing they got going down the left frame rail, like
they could have got a nicer radiator cap. And I'm surprised there's not billet radiator caps out there right now.
Well, no, I mean that whole tube assembly thing. I'm like, dude, like this looks like an afterthought. Like, come on, man. Anyway.
On the CVOs, it's easier to hide it behind the covers, but on the Road Glides and the Street Glides, it's just look at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, I'm excited about they finally changed the intake ports. The amount of power we're probably gonna be able to produce out of that water cooled motor. Yeah. Even though that kind of hurts my feelings a little bit to say that.
It's semi water cooled.
Dude, fuck you. It's got a radiator.
That's what we were talking about when you walked in. It's like I knew that was. I wouldn't say it was like a 12-step program to get us all acclimated to water cooled motors on Harleys, but that's what's happening.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I think the craziest part about the new models is the one thing you do not hear about is people saying,
they didn't even market it. They didn't market it.
We talked about that on the Garage Talk. Man, they just slid that in there with the body style change, so everybody was talking about the new look that nobody even noticed. Like, hey, by the way, that's not a.
Yeah, no, nobody's even talking about it.
You know why I do like it though? Is because if you've ever had to do anything with the heads on an M8 and you have to pull that fucking oil line rail off,
there's no oil lines over the top.
There's no oil lines over the top anymore.
I love that.
You can
and I'm sure it's gonna be way better.
Yeah,
it's not gonna get as hot. Like the new breather system.
Yeah,
fuck, dude, that seems pretty impressive. It's not breathing through the heads anymore. I think that it's probably a superior motorcycle.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think not to be. I'm being too pro Harley right now because I do love them like you do, but at the same time, I do understand how much pushback they're getting from EPA, Harley loyalists, newcomers that they need to inspire new people to want to ride these bikes, and they're competing with brands like Indian and whoever else is out there, and you got to make a motorcycle that competes. Like the nostalgia of Harleys is synonymous to our generation, and maybe one or two younger than us. But it's not going to appeal to everyone.
Fuck, I disagree.
I don't see it, man. Not unless that they can. Here's the deal. The styling can appeal. The technology has to fucking adapt.
I would agree that technology has to. It's gonna get better and better and better. Okay, but if they don't keep that nostalgia, they're gonna have sports.
Yeah.
That, dude, you can't give those things away. Nobody wants that shit. You know, they just don't. So, do not take the fins off our fucking engines.
Even if you don't need them.
Even if you don't need them, they better have some goddamn fins. Anyway.
We'll just have completely engraved motors. With just like Paisleys everywhere. I'm with you on that. I've always said that, like, I always thought it was an amazing. I remember when the Harley and the Davidsons TV show came out, like that series. I didn't know that the FL style fender that came on like a, your typical road glide, street glide, electric glide, that was like a design from like the 30s or 40s. And like how, performance bike or not, when I see that fender, like I fucking love that fender. It just it's a good looking fender.
No, it is. I mean,
on a touring model, right?
I mean, our job is to fuck shit up and change it.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what makes Harley is. Mm-hmm. That's how I sell Harleys. I tell a guy who comes in, and we get the guys who, Yamaha, this and that. I say, okay, how's your 2011 Yamaha run?
Yeah.
Does anybody know how to work on it?
Okay.
Can you find parts for it? Right?
Dude, I get those phone calls every day here. And you know what I tell them? Man, you're going to have to join like a Facebook group or something.
Right? Like,
you're not going to find anybody that specializes in...
They're disposable motorcycles.
Yeah.
And... the reason I love Harley is because they don't make disposable motorcycles. They actually keep the technology platform for at least 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, this first batch of M8s was 7 years, 7 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most people don't even think about that.
You know what I mean? So you have manufacturers who are able to produce parts for them. Us guys who barely graduated high school can figure out how to work on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
for now.
And you have a whole country full of people who know how to work on these motorcycles. So whether it's a 1982 or a 2022, you can keep that thing going indefinitely. And for me, that's what makes Harley Davidson superior to all the other brands.
Yeah, 100%.
Because no other brand has that. And that's how I sell Harleys. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, dude, this can literally be a bike you own for 25 years and ride it that long. It's not a throwaway. You're gonna put money in it. You're gonna be upside down, but 5 years from now, it'll be way better than it is today.
You know what's insane? And I don't think about this much because, like you, being a lifelong, my entire adulthood, I've been working on motorcycles, right? So when they dropped the Challenger in 19, right, that's when it happened. Because I remember going to SEMA that year.
I remember that.
And at my buddy TOL's shop, Carey Hart dropped their bikes off, which Carey Hart and Big B had their Indian Challengers. They dropped them off there. And I took a big picture behind it doing this. Then had to go to a party with them later and explain myself, and they could have jumped me, whatever. But anyways,
dude, that would have been worth the money.
Yeah, like, hey, I would have been like,
jump like
hey, Harley, I stood up for you.
Team.
I always like joked around like Indian was going to give me a bike before Harley would. But anyway, so we did that, and it was like you remember the memes? Like it was like, hey, don't copy it word for word, change some of the answers, you know what I mean?
Right.
Get a couple wrong, you know what I mean? Well, it's funny how when Harley then comes out with this new model, like people were saying, oh, it looks like a Challenger. But it's like, but the Challenger is like a regurgitation of a Harley. So this inception that's going on.
There's no new ideas.
Yeah. I mean, look, they figured out certain aerodynamics for a motorcycle a long time ago. So every version of a fairing, and I've asked this question before. This is one of those questions I would ask Brad Richards on there. It's like, why, you remember when, I don't know if you remember this is kind of off topic, but on topic. Do you remember when Audi, there was a designer for Audi or Ferrari, and they went to Harley, Camaro or Chevrolet.
No clue.
And then you ended up getting the last 2 Corvettes that we've had.
Okay.
So the last 2 Corvette designs are from a designer that was from Ferrari, I believe.
All right.
And then there was another one that was at Audi and then went to a company like Hyundai or something like that. So then you started seeing a different styling in the cars that kind of emulated, but because it's almost like the designer itself is the actual, this is my design. I'm taking my design now to
no,
this brand.
Absolutely. I mean, there's every time you think you have a new idea, you know, every time I think, oh, dude, I've got this killer fucking idea. I looked through an old Easy Rider or some shit, and somebody did it in fucking 1990. Dude. You know what I mean? Like, how many times has that happened?
Dude, I started doing, you saw the wall down there. I started like diving deep, and I was like buying all these 90s and 80s Easy Rider magazines, and to see how many FXR choppers in my style were out there in the 90s.
Yep.
And I put each one on the wall, or at least I saved them or hid them or something, so nobody else would know. But we're all just it's just a circle of life. It just keeps going,
like,
you know.
It's like that manufacturer comes with like, they're copying my pegs. You know, like, get the fuck out of here.
No, what it was the shift linkage. Like they created a Heim joint.
Who was that? I can't remember who the fuck.
Hardcore Cycles. Was it? No, it was a purpose built.
Yeah, purpose built
against thrashing.
Yeah. That was wild.
Oh shit! The Heim joint has been stolen. What?
Yeah.
But man, all these things, like it's weird being here long enough. Like if you think about it, when we first did a podcast, there's listeners on this podcast. There are people that are now working in this industry who had nothing to do, weren't even out of high school yet when we did our first episode, 7 years ago for the most part.
I had to stop myself from going back and listening because
I can't.
I didn't want to influence this podcast right here. You know what I mean? I was like, no, just let that thing,
It's crazy what's awesome is that it still exists. You know what I mean?
It's
so somebody
amazing
out there that like the same way like I've been buying books out the ass, especially books that's been out for a while. Somebody that really wants to like put the time in can go back and listen to, we're almost at 400 episodes.
Yeah.
So go listen to 4 or 5 episodes with you on, because you've been on with like Jason and Dusty and other ones like that. There's just so much that people can like go and consume. And yes, some of it's going to be time stamped to that period of time. But if you want to know like the classic, right? The amount of people, remember one of the last podcasts you came in the studio and did, we were talking about the whole T-bar argument. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm glad I'm off that shit, right? But we've all kind of evolved from that, because early parts of the performance bagger thing, was like, we had our arguments, you know what I mean? And obviously you being in NorCal, it's like kind of the epicenter where this flavor came from. And, when people like, they don't even understand it. Now the performance baggers are like the bagger that you see everywhere you go. We were talking about this before these people even wanted to fucking
Dude, I was tripping in Sturgis this year because the amount of 60-year-olds I saw running around with T-bars, I was like, fuck, dude.
It's not insane?
It is insane. And it's such a mixed emotion.
It is.
It's a mixed emotion because on one hand, it's like, hey, that was kind of our thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that was what kind of made us different.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you're like, I have one customer in Tennessee, and he's 60 plus years old. Super great guy. Man, his road glide was lowered with the ape hangers, the pointy shit and all that kind of stuff. And he just started coming around the shop. Next thing you know, his suspension's taller. And the thing that got me was he asked me, all right, I'm going to trust you. We put Nest method risers and, the bars on the setup, right? And he's like, John, like, you don't understand. I actually like riding my bike again. He's like, this thing is so much fun to ride again. Like, before it was, okay, I thought it looked good, but now I think it looks good and I can ride it. Now he's got fucking Hoffman fenders and, all this shit. But that's kind of what we want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But on the other hand, it's like, fuck, that was kind of our thing.
We made it. We made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's the part about like trends, right? Is it somebody out there? There's a patient zero somewhere, and honestly, that dude is probably so deep in the mix of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's whatever.
Like I said, I've always paid homage to the people that I saw do it first. It was Scotty up there in Hard Knock Cycles.
100%.
A lot of people in NorCal, because when I was up there painting bikes a lot, I saw a lot of this. But seeing it widely popular now, seeing Harley embrace it in their motorcycles, I'm still staunch on this. I think that 100% the flavor and the culture came from you guys out there. I think that what really ramped it up was the way a lot of us other people put spins on these bikes.
100%.
And made it like, you gotta understand, like in 2020, like California was hey, we're closed right now. We're not doing anything.
That's why I left.
Yeah. We were fucking gung ho out here.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, we were doing events. Our camp out like tripled in size.
Yeah.
Everybody was everywhere. Sturgis was popping. Everything was going on. And I think that's the year that performance baggers really took, like, it really infected the rest of the country. And I think like proper baggers, Steve Chamberlain, you moving to Tennessee, which is a big help because now you're taking a California flavor and you're embedding it in literally the only other great part of the country to ride comparable to California.
Yeah.
Right? There's lots of great places to ride,
Yeah,
but collectively, like as far as roads everywhere, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
My 1 hour test drive
yeah.
is shit that is just fucking unbelievable.
You should just like you should just do test rides and use like motophotos.com as like all your like photos to like, hey, this is the new bike.
Yeah. Exactly. Like,
It's like 5 miles down the road. Turn 112. Oh, wait, it's under 11, right?
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the T-bar, the performance bagger thing, man, that's not going anywhere.
It's not. No.
No, it's not. And I'm thankful it's not going anywhere. And hopefully it can be driven by people who have passion and not just,
Yeah.
the quote unquote vultures. Because finally we have a trend that is more about riding your bike and enjoying that bike than it is just
Showing
pulling up
off,
to it,
yeah.
showing off. And yeah, you can do both. You can have a bitchin' fucking bike and show it off and ride the fuck out of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Where are we at right now?
143.
All right. This would be a great conversation to carry on.
All
I
right.
got to pee.
All right.
And I want to keep this conversation going, and then everybody listening is gonna have to pay me some money
All
to
right.
get the rest
Sounds
of this.
good. Sounds good.
Well, John, hey, thank you for this part.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, dude, it's so fucking good to hang out with you again, man.
Likewise.
It definitely gives me that thing I talked about earlier, where I was like, you know what? I said this a while back, and I was like, I want to be able to spend 10, 20, 30 years in this industry and come back, right, like we just did, and say, you know what, 7 years ago we were doing this.
Yeah, I think about that all
4
the
years ago we were
time.
doing this,
I think about that all the time because
Yeah.
eventually we're going to be the fucking old guys.
and we're gonna have
We're the
40
middle-aged
years.
guys right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of young guys just fucking sitting in their shops. They just fucking started.
Yeah.
They ain't got fucking nothing. They're just fucking hungry. They're fighting for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're listening to us like fucking we're rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually they'll be where we're at. And we'll be fucking the 70-year-olds.
Yep.
And let's have this conversation in 10 years.
Hell
Fuck
yeah.
yeah.
All right.